Hi, ladies. We are in week 7 of our 12 together, our 90 days. So we are more than um, halfway into our content, and so it's gone by fast. I don't know if it has for you or not, but it's gone by really fast. And so I just want to kind of check in with all of you guys, see how you're doing with that. Um, and I want to hear how maybe I definitely want you to either post in the Facebook group this week. I know I've been checking with some of you guys privately, and especially in our group call. I want to make sure and check in with you and things like that. So there's a lot of things that can change, as we're looking around our food, as we're even been addressing the topics we've been addressing and things like that. And so a lot of things that we've been talking about. And so it can be overwhelming. It may not feel overwhelming to some of you, and I'm hoping that's the case. But just to recap, some of the things we've been talking about are the quality of food that we're putting in, and how that's important. We've talked about how we're doing it, how we're combining our food. We've talked about the quantity, like portion control and mindful eating. And we talked, then we talked about how we're eating. And so all of these things play in a really important role. A lot of times we look at just what we're eating, and that's the only thing that we address. And so there's a lot of components, to what goes around weight loss, to what goes around our eating and things like that. And a lot of times, again, we just look at what we're eating and we leave out the component of how we're eating. And so when we kind of put those two equations together, we end up kind of putting together some great equations in there. So with that said, again, we're more than halfway into our 90 days. Doesn't mean our 90 days or 90 days where our time is over. No, there's going to be some opportunities to keep working together, and would love to continue to support you and things like that. So I'll be bringing that up over the next kind of the coming weeks, or the next kind of couple weeks and things like that. So, but with that being said, we're going to talk about habit change today. And so one is, I'll mention in regards to habits, is a lot of what we've been talking about is habits, and we're working on making better choices around our food, striving for something better. We're not saying we need to go for perfection, but we're looking and striving for better. And so as we've kind of talked about in the first videos, is that if we're looking at kind of the Farmer Jane scenario, looking at maybe at some point striving towards kind of the good quality organic non-GMO foods. If you're not there yet, that is very okay. But we're making steps towards, if you're maybe at a place where you're eating fast food several times a week, we're looking at maybe taking a step in a direction where, hey, maybe we're going to make some better food choices when we go out to eat, or maybe we're going to start choosing to go maybe a little less and things like that. So one step, we're going to go A to B. We don't necessarily have to go A to Z and things like that. When we do A to Z, we feel like we need to do a huge overhaul in our life. It actually ends up not sticking. So anyway, I do want to check in with you guys, see how you're doing around all of that. But that all of that is going to be it's habits. That's how we're building habits. We're building that lifestyle for you. And so it's often said, that you need 21 days to build a habit, and that can be the case for probably maybe some, but you may need longer. You may need a few months to be able to really develop a habit around something, and it could be maybe it's deep rooted or whatever that is. And so we're going to talk a little bit about kind of habits today and talk around some of this stuff. And and I want us to cut ourselves some slack and kind of a break a little bit, because all habits, whether they're good or bad, they all serve a purpose in our life. Okay. And so whether it's a habit of, when we get up in the morning, we just automatically go wash our face, we brush our teeth, we have our certain routine in the mornings, or going straight to work. All those type of things are a routine of even getting to work, the way we get there. All of these things serve a purpose. So for example, we brush our teeth because we want to avoid going to the dentist and having, cavities. Or maybe it's, it could be maybe with a friend, a significant other, a family member. Maybe there's been some difficult times, maybe it's you're avoiding trying to have a conversation. So you go and avoid it by doing something else. Maybe it's playing video games, maybe it's mindless eating, all these type of things. We could be doing mindless eating when we're feeling an emotion, feeling down, maybe bored or things like that. And so whether or not, whatever emotion or habit, they all play a role in our life. And so know that, and again, let's cut ourselves some slack in that, and know that as we start to deal with, maybe when we start to address and know, and maybe we've recognized, if we're talking about eating, that we've been in a pattern of eating a certain way, maybe we're mindless eating or whatever it is. It's always good to kind of go back and refresh on what the last few days have been like. It could be there's a big transition in your life, whatever that is. And so anyway, dealing with the problem, with the real problem, sometimes can be relatively easy, but sometimes it can't be. And sometimes it's very, very difficult to allow yourself to feel the emotion. And I think that's the important thing, is when we allow ourselves to feel it, and it takes time to sometimes do that. And for those of us that are emotional eaters or have ever been emotional eaters, I know for myself, I was scared for, when I was, certainly at my heaviest, I literally, just allowed myself not to feel anything at all. And I guess, honestly, at the time, I didn't realize that I was doing that. And then as I've, just over the years, even prior to that, as I've even gotten my own help in this specific area, that being able to really feel my emotions and not be afraid of them and addressing them and things like that has helped me. And it takes time to do that. And so, but just know that, and again, give yourself some break in that. But I think whenever we do maybe have a slip up, and we all will have them, you will have them in your life, not to discourage you, but know that you will. There's a lesson behind it all, right? And so there's lessons to be learned in it. And so, so feel free to use the group for that. Feel free to share with us if there's anything that is going on. We're here to support you, in whatever capacity you may need in that. But some things that can help are, one is a group setting like this, where we're working through maybe specifically on, it could be other areas of your life too, right? But if we're looking at around food or weight loss, and you're noticing some certain patterns, bring it up and let us kind of brainstorm with you, talk through a little bit, and sometimes just talking about it out loud or saying it out loud can kind of help us to be able to get to kind of where the root of that feeling is coming from, or why it's happening, and we can help kind of break a little of those patterns with you and stuff like that. So having a buddy, some people accountable to, writing things down really helps. But when we just kind of keep it to ourselves, we end up kind of pushing it off and off and off. And it really, we're looking at a habit. Sometimes it just ends up serving us. It may not serve us in the best way. And that's, at the end of the day, we got to figure out when we want to kind of, where we want to kind of go, when we want to break that pattern, I guess you want to say. So, so one thing I want to do is I want to share my screen with you. And I want to talk a little bit about one of the assignments that we had in orientation. And let me see if I can go ahead and do that now. But I do want to talk about this one because it has to do, it's having to do with some of the deep-rooted things in our life that may, they're generally speaking, going to hold us back. And it has to do a lot with the emotional blocks, emotional ties to where, one, this, again, may be sabotaging us, but it has to do a lot of where our habits kind of come from. And this is, I've labeled this document called Getting Unstuck. And it's really having to do with a lot of these, again, deep-rooted thoughts or feelings that we have around our own weight loss. It could be, again, other areas that are sabotaging us, things like that. And so, so one thing I'll read off this document, and I'll go through, kind of go down this a little bit. So if you've ever heard the term limiting belief, the term limiting belief, it's a belief that's limiting us, really. And so, and in this assignment, we talk about how it's served us, and I'll break this down for you. When and why was this limiting belief created? Think of when you first felt or heard this. From parent, family, society, your school, media, and then your ideal belief. And then there's some examples on the bottom. This can be honestly a hard assignment to go through, but it honestly can be very powerful. So if you put this off, I want to try and encourage you to get this sheet back out, and let's kind of go ahead and revisit this. And if there's anything that you did go through and you when we first started, one is these are going to probably always kind of come up. There might be different emotional areas, different blocks in your life that will come up throughout your life and things like that. But if you haven't even gone through this yet, go ahead and whip it out. We can always go through it together. It can be, again, kind of a hard one because we may not want to face it either. But unless we can deal with some of these emotional kind of ties, emotional blocks that honestly hinder us from really pushing ourselves past that sabotage. Because what we do is we end up going right back to where we were, and we want to go get away from going right back. And that's the reason we do that is it's usually fear, and it's usually a comfort. We're comfortable, so we make some progress, and then we go right back because we're comfortable into what we've known. And it's just really kind of a deep-rooted, emotional and habit that's there. So some things with this assignment are, as you read on this, we're going to dig deep and look at areas of your life where you have some deep-rooted beliefs and lies from childhood and life experiences. If you've ever read the book, Jen Shantara, well, I don't know why I can't remember. You Are a Badass. And so she has a new book about money, I think. So if you've read that one, she actually talks about limiting beliefs, I think in the first chapter. She talks about it being, kind of in your first years when you're, as a child, when you're growing up, and you carry these, you hear these things from loved ones. It could be a teacher, aunt, uncle, parent. And what happens is, we hear these things, and it's total protection, generally speaking, is that your aunt may tell you, share something with you just totally out of protection. It could be really, in a lot of ways, just an opinion about something, but we start to carry these things with us, and it could be just, again, these are deep-rooted things about who we are as a person. So if you haven't gotten that book, I would suggest reading it. I love that first chapter. Again, is really super powerful. She talks about this stuff. So while we explore sentence number 2, it says, while we explored and expanded as a young child, we also received messages all around us, the way things are. So the moment you take it in, you're given a lifetime worth of beliefs. So just as I said, when you're younger, so many of which have nothing. Let me read this. While we explored and expanded as a young child, we also received messages all around us about the way things are. The moment you could take it in, you're given a lifetime worth of beliefs, many of which have nothing to do with who you actually are, what is actually true. So for example, the world is a dangerous place. You are too fat. Size matters. Your parents who hopefully loved you with all their hearts passed down their beliefs who learned them from their parents. So from our own experience as a child, young adult, and adults, we gather beliefs and hurts that we hold on to for many years, maybe even a lifetime. So looking at this stuff can be hard, but it's important to be able to move forward. It is a time to get honest, bearing it all, and put it on paper. So doesn't mean you have to share with us, but I would love for you, if you felt comfortable, to be able to do that. For whatever capacity you want to. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some examples, and I did do this somewhat and certainly in orientation, but we're going to revisit this because I want us to focus on, we haven't gotten here yet, to go ahead and take a look at these areas. So, if we're looking at current limiting beliefs, how they served me, how they served us, where they originated, and ideal beliefs. Okay, so I'm not going to necessarily read through all these, but I do want you guys to really take a look at these areas. I'm going to look at the one that's I hate exercising. Okay, so if you're someone that hates exercising, how has it served me? Well, I can watch more television. I can watch more TV after I get off work. I can relax more. Well, where did this originate? I was never an athlete in PE. I was made fun of. Your ideal belief is I love exercise because I love how connected I feel in my body. I love how strong I feel, and I love how I feel afterwards. Here's another one. I don't like to drink water. I hate water. So how this has served me, I can drink more Diet Coke. So I can drink more soda. Where did this originate? I never really had someone make me drink it as a child, so I never did. I drank sugary drinks. And the ideal belief is I love water, and when I drink it, it makes me feel so energized. Losing weight is hard work, and it sucks. How this has served me. I don't have to put it in the energy to try to lose weight. Where did this originate? I've been on a diet since I was 16 and still haven't lost weight for good. The ideal belief, losing weight and discovering my healthy body is a fun journey to learn more about myself and my body so we can work as a team. So those are just a few. One at the very top, one that says I don't trust men. I actually, I'll be honest with you guys, I struggled after I lost weight, is that I thought I'd lost too much weight off my body. So I struggled a lot with that no man would ever love me because of the way my body was. And so that was honestly like an emotional limiting belief that I carried around. And I worked through that a few years ago when I hired a health coach about 4 years ago. And what, 2014? So maybe 3 years ago, 3.5. And yeah, so this is one area that I ended up kind of working through, and it was amazing that to kind of really allow myself to work through that and get past that. And I don't believe that anymore. And so anyway, so I just want to tell you guys this can be certainly very powerful. Does it happen overnight? No, but I do want you guys to start to take a look at these areas in your life. So that's this assignment. Go ahead and take a look at it this week, and let's start to kind of talk through these things. And if you want to talk with me privately about it, I'm very fine with that. Another sheet I was going to walk through with you guys too is a weekly goal setting sheet. Okay, I want to ask you guys if you like this format, and if you do, if you've been using this goal setting sheet and what you think about it. So we're here to keep you accountable. We're here to cheer you on, and things like that. So if you like this format and you've been doing it yourself, it's okay if you don't like it at all. My feelings are not hurt. But when we're doing goals, and as far as you trying to set them up for yourself, and things like that, like, really when we have some form of accountability, know that you're actually more likely to succeed. Your percentages go way up. So let us, if this is working for you, if this is a format that doesn't work for you, again, like, no hard feelings whatsoever. But what I want to tell you is that if you have a certain format and you're doing some goal setting, if you're not, I want to encourage you to do something. And again, let us cheer you on. Let us keep you accountable. And then that way you are not doing it by yourself. So we signed up with the group program because we want to cheer each other on. And it ends up being very contagious when you're actually in a group setting and you're able to share with us on what you're doing and things like that. So I wanted to kind of revisit this sheet too, because this can really help us in building our own habits and things like that. And so yeah, just again, no hard feelings with this and working at all. But if it is and you do want to, or if you haven't tried it yet or even taken a stab at this, never too late. Let's get the sheet out and let's actually start setting some goals. Set up your weekly goals and set it up and put it in the group. Or if you don't feel comfortable in the group, go ahead and email me or message me. Let me know what your goals are, because I would love to support you in that. All right? So I'm going to stop sharing. And, even when we look at our goals, I set it up for, weight loss goals for the month. And then I broke down exercise goals for the week, nutrition goals for the week. What did I realize and what area do I need to adjust this week? Proud of myself for accomplishing XYZ. So pretty straightforward. It's a great way to maybe adjust some things. Also look at some areas where, hey, you know what, I'm very proud of myself for, and things like that. So that's why I set it up that way. So that's our habit week. And it's interesting when we really, we may think like, oh, that's great. But look, if we do little tiny things, you might be really surprised. I'm gonna give a quick story about my knee here. I think I'm 7.5 weeks out from having surgery, so almost 8 weeks. And the progress that I'm having, and even as I'm noticing, my knee has been really pretty sore because I just have done a lot of work on it. And talked to my physical therapist just how inflamed and how hurting. It's hard for me to do some of my exercises right now. And the little things that I can do just to add on to taking my Advil. Consistently putting ice on it, compressing, putting a wrap around it, and then doing my exercises. And, I've got some essential oils that somebody gave me some samples of, and, making sure I'm getting up and walking, and doing some, bending it throughout the day. So, one of the things I was just doing is maybe every now and then I was hurting so bad I wasn't bending it probably enough because it just is hurting and I wasn't putting ice on it. And and things like that. So the more I just add on a little bit here, little bit tiny tweaks, and that you don't think it makes a difference, but it's making a tremendous difference. I mean, like almost on a regular basis, I almost will say daily, I start to at least every few days, I really notice a tremendous difference to not only being able to walk better, to gaining strength, to getting rid of the crutches and braces. And I mean, it's amazing. And just, the inflammation is starting to kind of diminish more. And so that to me shows me it's important to adjust and do the little things, again, just don't think it matters that much to put ice on it, but it does. It may not matter much to like write down your goals, or may not mean much to, maybe look at these emotional blocks, but it really does. And so I guess I just want to encourage you in those areas where you may feel like, oh, this is maybe not so fun to do. And it can be maybe a little harder to address, but know that that's why we're here to support you on this journey. So you guys are doing awesome. I love hearing from each one of you guys. I love the changes you're making. And the progress you've made in 7 weeks is phenomenal. So super proud of you guys. And what I'm going to do is make sure, I think I'll email these over to you, but I'll make sure you have these documents, and I'll continue to see over in the Facebook group and continue to see you in our group call. You guys are doing great.